Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Caroline Maria, working as an assistant professor in Loyola College of Education, Chennai. The title of the course is Childhood and Growing Up, which comes under Course 1. We are going to deal with the last unit, Unit 10, Urbanization and Economic Change on Child Development. This video lecture is going to focus on the impact of urban culture, population density, migration of family, and environmental factors on child development, effects of liberalization, privatization, and globalization on child development with special reference to India. At the end of the video lecture, you will gain thorough knowledge about the impact of social issues on child development and understand the effects of LPG on child development. Let's learn the impact of urban culture on child development. What do you mean by culture? Culture means your way of life, your style of life. It is a part of personal identity in relation to your language, moral values, beliefs, behaviors, your style of parenting, etc. Then, this urban culture is a culture which is prevailing in towns and cities. So, culture shapes the experiences and influences the children development. Through their culture only, children learn different behaviors and they preferred whether the behavior is preferred or discouraged. And the moral values are another aspects of childhood development which are shaped by the culture. Let's now focus on the characteristics of urban culture. These are generalized information with regard to the characteristics of urban culture. Western culture children are assertive and independent, whereas Eastern culture children are obedient and well mannered. Researchers have found that pro social behavior like helping, sharing, caring is more prevalent among children from Eastern culture than Western culture. In general, the rural children are more cooperative and less competitive than the urban children because of their exposure. And with regard to the aggression, most culture view that the physical and verbal aggression as unacceptable one. And research has found that the prevalence of reticent behavior is higher among the Eastern culture children than the Western culture. Friendship varies from one culture to another culture. With regard to play, play emphasizes the individualism, self reliance, individual problem solving, and self help. Urban games are the ones which are increasing more stress than the rural games. Let's focus on the positive impact of urban culture with regard to all the five dimensions of development in children. Social development, children are better connected with the outside world because of the technology advancement. With regard to cognitive development, better availability and enhanced efficiency of education system has helped in increasing learning ability, competitiveness and all-round development in children. With regard to physical development, because of urban culture, it increases the economic status of the family, which will help the people to decrease the instances of health related problems and immediately the parent can go for medical care. With regard to emotional and moral development, the extent of patriarchal mindset has now decreased to some extent because of this urban culture, which will lead us for better gender sensitization among the children. What are the negative impacts of urban culture? Same way with regard to all the five dimensions, let's have a discussion. With regard to the social development, because of this urban culture, it leads to unchecked access of children with regard to internet that has led to the growth of antisocial elements in the society. With regard to cognitive development, the new gadgets have isolated the children from the real world while making them habitual for the virtual world. With regard to the physical development, the instances of obesity have increased due to more consumption of fast food, pollution, and increases a lot of diseases. With regard to emotional and moral development, because of urban culture, it creates an instances for family strife which increases because of the both parent are working and they cannot give enough time for their children development, which hampers their development, and it also leads the children to go for lot of other unwanted activities, which will even give them the emotional imbalance. What do you mean by population density and its effect? Population means number of people living together in a particular area. So that only we can call it as population. But with regard to population density, number of people living per unit of an area, the number of people relative to the space occupied by them, a condition where population surges to a level that the earth cannot accommodate comfortably and poses a threat to the environment. So many people accumulated in a particular area is called as population density. You can see in this picture so many houses together and very small area is shared by many people is what called as population density. It has a lot of effects. Since many are together in an area, it leads to unemployment, illiteracy, poverty, poor health, poor economy, and more demand, less production, pollution, global warming, etc. So many problems we come across with. What is migration of family? Migration means movement of people from one place to another place with an intention of settlement permanently in a new area. According to the Convention of the Rights of the Child, it is the duty of any country to ensure that all children enjoy their rights irrespective of their migration status of their parent. So, whoever is there in every country, they are supposed to be provided with every every natural resources as well as all the other facilities. So, it is a duty of the country to provide all that. With regard to education also, the lower educational achievements of immigrants are still going on as a challenge. What are the impact of migrant families on child development? Because they are migrating from one place to another place, they have a lot of grief and sense of loss, and it creates a lot of stress in them, and they keep themselves isolated from the other social communities because they are new to the place. Language barrier is another problem. Since they come to a new place, the language is a stumbling block for them to get themselves communicated with others, and heightened intergenerational conflict due to the clash of values and customs because they are completely from another place. They need time in order to get themselves adjusted to the new environment. And settlement problem also they have with regard to their finance and all, and financial support, employment, and housing, education, training, electricity, with regard to identity card, Aadhaar card, with regard to all this, they have a lot of problems. So difficulties in adjusting to new education system, and racism also will create a lot of impact with regard to the child development when they are migrated from one place to another place. Let's now focus on how far these environmental issues affect the child development. With regard to the social and moral development, because of the environmental pollution and environmental issues, it creates a lot of stress among the children. That affects the social and moral development. And pollution and all the other environmental issues create memory loss in children. In one way it is creating memory loss, the other way it is helping the people to go for problem solving skills and creativity. For example, the scarcity of fresh water, we have gone for RO system, that is reverse osmosis. So in another way it is helping us to improve the problem solving skill. And with regard to the physical development, because of the unhygienic practices whatever we have, that creates a lot of opportunity for contaminated diseases, retarded growth, short lifespan of human beings. And emotional development, because of the pollution and all the environmental effects, we do come across with a lot of stress. Let's now focus on liberalization and the impact of liberalization on child development. What is liberalization? Liberalization is just relaxing the economic policies and giving permission for the private companies to come and open their trade to in different nations. In India, our former Prime Minister, Mr. Narasimha Rao, he allowed free entry for foreign goods in Indian markets. That actually avoided the smuggling. And with regard to education, giving permission for various institutions to open their schools and colleges with relaxed permission and license, and tax is also even reduced. What are the advantages for this liberalization? Since private companies are coming forward and private institutions are establishing their own schools and colleges, there are many chances for quality education. One way it is improving the quality, the other way, some are taking it for granted and they are just even ruining the quality of education. So, quality of education is both coming in as well as going out. When privatization is happening, when private people are establishing their own schools and providing good quality education, even the rural and poor students can get quality higher education. And institutions, so many institutions are mushroomed so that people can access to any educational institution nearby their home, and by which we can save our foreign exchange because of the development of science and technology and communication that helps the students to go for a very good development. And since private schools are giving a lot of input for quality education, we are preparing the children or the students for global job market. And when everyone is getting a job, everybody will pay the tax, and that will increase the growth of the Indian economy, and a lot of job opportunities could be provided. Let's now discuss on the privatization and education. What is privatization? Privatization is the management by private sector with total absence of government intervention. Privatization of higher education has emerged several forms and types in the recent decade in India. These higher education institutions take place in the form of introducing new self-financing courses within the government institution. There are some institutions which are run by the private party by getting government affiliation and government aid. So, converting the government aided private institution to private self-financing institution, allowing to expand the self-financing and private institution with recognition, and also even without recognition, which may be even termed as commercial private higher education institutions. Let's discuss the factors responsible for privatization of higher education. As we know already that our India is a developing country for so many years. So because of the economic reasons, we are unable to provide free and compulsory education with regard to higher education. For school education, we do have Sarva Siksha Abhiyan, school education for all. Free and compulsory education is there at school level. But with regard to higher education, we are not able to provide 100% higher education at free of cost. Because of the growing population in India, and already financial burden is there in government, and there is always a quest for quality because teachers are expected to be accountable to provide good quality education, and rapid growth in school education is there, so there is a lot of competition for higher education. So many students are passing out from school education, and a lot of competition is there for higher education in order to get seats. And with regard to fulfilling the need for skilled manpower is another challenge for privatization, and everywhere we come across with a lot of corruption. So curtailment of corruption in higher education is a challenge, and there is a desire for more autonomy. So many colleges are coming forward to get autonomy status, but it is not granted because of so many reasons. So that is actually affecting the higher education. And technology development is there all throughout the entire world. So it has to be implemented in higher education. There are even some political reasons also which are preventing to match the standard of international standard. What are the advantages of privatization of higher education? It helps all the educational institutions to go for a decentralization, in the sense common syllabus, common evaluation pattern, and having a common understanding. That is what is called as decentralization of educational institution. So all the educational institution, if they are having a common syllabus, ultimately all the students will get proper quality education. So it takes a lot of initiatives for educational reforms, and because it is privatization, and innovativeness in teaching, learning, and evaluation is also there. Because of privatization, we just go for technology enabled teaching, blended learning, and flipped classroom, and all that. So, provision of wide choice of courses with regard to the subject and the students. We can introduce a lot of new courses like robotics, data science, and microbiology, nanotechnology, etc. because of privatization. And competition between the institution also will help the institution to enhance the quality. And shaping the curriculum according to the global, national, and local needs is very important with regard to privatization. And because of the privatization, it is possible, and that is an advantage. And availability and maintenance of all the resources with regard to infrastructure, teaching, learning, technology, and teachers, and all that are possible because of privatization. And because of privatization, it fulfills the need of the country with regard to liberalization, privatization, and globalization. And there is a sort of utility of human and physical resources in a proper way. Nobody is left without any job because of privatization. When we have discussed some advantages of privatization, we do have some disadvantages of privatization of higher education. So the privatization education will badly affect the poor. The ones those who are able to afford only will get quality education. So it undermines the equity, diversity, and openness, and it does not address the issues of equality, fairness, and responsibility towards the nation. And the high fees, that is exorbitant fees, will deprive many people, even those who are in the middle class also, to avail the education. An accountability problem also will arise with regard to privatization, and courses in humanities and social sciences will be sidelined because of no economic gain, and most of the people will go for science courses. Civic and democratic values also may not get a place. And there will be some sort of preconceived notion with regard to the job security, staff, and all because of privatization, because there is no guarantee and there is no authenticity that any time the private institution can just fire the staff, and the collected funds may be even misused by the owners. They can even save the money for generation after generation. And favoritism towards their own family members is also possible because of privatization, because it is run by private people. What is globalization? Just having all the information within our hand is what called as globalization. In the sense, the entire globe is just like a village. Integration of all the economic, political, and cultural system and trends across the world, free for economic growth and prosperity and democratic freedom, is what called as globalization, by which each and every person can realize that we all are unified under one single world community. So we all are integrated together. That sort of feeling is what called as globalization. And this integration helps a person to go for a social as well as cultural integration. So what are the features of globalization? It gives a lot of opportunities for the multinational companies and corporate companies to establish their company in each and every nation, by which we can go for global education, and international division of labor is possible, and the entire globe is called as a global village. And it increases the migration of people within the country, across the country, even across the borders of the country also. So it provides a lot of opportunity for the media to spread information within no time. What is happening right now in America or Australia, we'll come to know just a click of the button. So the growth of non-governmental organizations are established in all the fields. What is the impact of globalization on education? We are able to get global education as we have discussed in privatization also. We need to go for quality education, and the people those who are able to afford for the quality education only, they can go get this global education. So one way it is an advantage, another way it is a disadvantage. And dual degree is possible. One degree you can just pursue during your regular college mode, other degree you can just go for online or even distance mode. So online degrees are available, and all those degrees have to be properly authenticated by the different universities. And global educational research is happening because of globalization, and people are going for a lot of research to find out what are the problems we are facing with regard to education. And respecting the right for everybody is possible because of globalization. Because of globalization, there are so many institutions mushrooming entire world. So there is a competition between each and every institution that makes the other institution to perform well in order to get their name, as well as in order to sustain their standard. And technology enabled education is possible because of globalization. Overall, in a nutshell, we could say that all round development of children is possible because of globalization. The key learnings are urban culture, population density, migration of family, and environmental effects cause a great impact on child development, both in positive and negative way. Liberalization, privatization, and globalization also create an impact on child development. Let me ask you some points for you to reflect for. As a teacher, how will you promote all-round development among your students? Suggest any two measures to help your students to overcome the environmental impacts. These are some of the books for your further reading. Thank you for listening, students. Wish you all good luck.